A successful accountant with a loving family, great job and comfortable life, David Bradford risked the future of his family, and they had no idea until it was too late. Today we'll be talking about the story of a man that had been leading a secret double life for decades until the day he wound up in jail, leaving his family to figure out the mess he had left behind. You might be shocked at how this story ends. After all, who doesn't love a bad guy gone good? Or does he go good? Stick around until the end to find out. David Bradford from Sheffield, England was working as an accountant when, one day in April 2014, everything came crashing down. For the last 2 decades before this fateful day, he had been gripped by a crippling addiction to gambling, his life completely taken over by playing online slot machines. Even though through his role as a finance controller he was making a very decent salary of £70,000 a year, it turns out that it wasn't enough to fund his secret gambling addiction, as he had actually stolen money from his own employer, totaling around £50,000. So secret, in fact, that he not only hid the out-of-control addiction itself from his wife Denise and 3 sons for 20 years, but they had no idea that he had remortgaged the house and racked up thousands of pounds of debt in bank loans and credit cards. And that's not the last of it. The kicker is that he even managed to hide the entire court trial from his family. Oh, and if that's still not enough, he even had made a bet on the day of his court case. The very first his family heard about any of it was when they received a call from Bradford's solicitor. He called them to say that he had been jailed at Mould Crown Court for 2 years and wouldn't be coming home any day soon. That must have been quite the shock. Understandably, David's family felt betrayed. 2 days after the sentencing, his son Adam says the phone rang and his mum picked up. It was his dad calling from jail. Just a quick 30-second phone call, which was all he was allowed. David's wife was distressed and mortified. Her husband's face had been plastered all over the front of the local newspaper, and she had no desire to speak to him, so she handed the phone to son Adam. All Adam was capable of saying to his disgraced father was to ask him where the bills were kept and what the password was to his email, seeing as Bradford had left his family having to figure out how to fix the mess he had created. Denise and Adam decided to do a bit more digging to piece together the truth about what really went down, and what they discovered left them in total disbelief. They learned that Bradford had been gambling away almost triple his monthly wage on betting sites, and the reason he had been taking out loans, credit cards and payday lenders was to fill the void in the family finances, basically to avoid suspicion. This resulted in a massive debt, amassing to over £500,000, leaving the family in financial ruin and with a terrifying repossession order held over the house, with no equity left to pay off the huge debts. What a nightmare. Even though he was really apologetic, Denise was understandably angry with Bradford for a really long time, although she did visit him in jail, and over time she forgave him for the immense betrayal she had felt at the time. She realized that despite her initial feelings, while valid, Bradford had no malicious intent and was just trying to do what he thought was best for his family, trying desperately to recover the money for the debts that were slowly but surely mounting to make things right. But things didn't go to plan, quickly spiraling out of control. It's safe to say that the family were just as traumatized as Bradford was by this whole experience, needing to unravel his debts and make a plan to keep the house. With each passing day that Bradford was behind bars, the family's mental health suffered enormously as they wondered how on earth they were going to cover the remortgage payments and keep the debt collectors at bay with the threat of homelessness looming over their heads. Bradford's son Adam started attending regular Gamblers Anonymous meetings in a bid to get over the ordeal, and Ryan, his other son, developed depression and suffered from insomnia and immense stress. But this story has a happy ending. After he had recovered from the initial trauma, Adam was intent on making a change. And for this, he needed to encourage the gambling industry to implement more safeguarding measures to protect vulnerable players who put themselves at risk of ruin. So he began a national campaign to raise awareness of the potential hidden dangers of gambling. When Bradford was released from jail after 8 months, it was a real struggle to find work, picking up whatever he could to make ends meet, like freelance delivery driving. He was making an effort to make amends with the people people he let down, working up to 100 hours a week. He was intent on making up for his wrongdoings and was impassioned to help prevent others descending into addiction like he did. So he joined forces with Adam, dedicating his time to helping others overcome their gambling addiction, with the pair going on to set up a charitable organization called the Safer Online Gambling Group, which works to raise awareness of gambling addictions and provides support to the industry and players alike through innovative solutions, and participating in a campaign calling on betting terminals to decrease the maximum stake for fixed odds from £100 to just £2. This then led to the father and son team bringing in Adam's twin brother Ryan as project manager, as they spent 2 years developing their own app called Bet Protect, with the aim to protect the estimated 430,000 people suffering from a gambling addiction by encouraging them to gamble more sensibly. Essentially, the app is a suite of tools used to provide enhanced education, awareness, and support to prevent problem gamblers from heading down the same path that Bradford had. Bradford believes that if their app or something similar had existed when he was getting hooked on gambling in the early years, it could well have saved him, and he may never have ended up in prison. He didn't realize the gravity of the situation, never believing he had a gambling problem, just thinking he was useless with money and finances until it was far too late. He says he didn't even realize he had a problem until the judge told him so at his trial, so he never sought any type of help. But upon reflection, he says he really needed some kind of intervention. The Bradford's app works with the Take a Break feature by giving the gambler breathing space to pause and to think about their actions. It also offers lots of help and professional advice that flashes up on the players' screens, as a way of educating them on the dangers long before they fall victim to their developing addiction, racking up huge debts, needing treatment, or even taking their own lives. For gamblers the app deems to be at risk, this information comes in the form of podcasts, videos, and digital tools, with advice from professional therapists and counselors, and those who have suffered from an addiction to gambling too. It also includes links to specialized helplines and clinics. David Bradford has made this his permanent job, dedicated to a lifelong mission to make a difference and turn his and his family's negative experience into something more positive for those who are at risk like he was. This app couldn't have come at a better time, with a surge in gambling since the first lockdown of the pandemic, according to the Gambling Commission, with 1 in 500 adults claiming to have started gambling for the first time in their lives. For David Bradford, this project has given him a chance at redemption and a new lease on life. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video on David Bradford and his secret double life of gambling. If you're enjoying our content, make sure to head over to our main channel where you can watch some of our other videos on gambling gone wrong. And we'll see you there.